Good evening. Welcome to Think About It Using Common Sense. Again, as it's been a while since I've been on. Um, Today, I want to talk about um, disconnect, what I feel is disconnect. Um, I'm not trying to tell people how to live their lives or how to think, but I'm only talking about experiences based on my life which qualifies me to talk about these things using common sense. And this is why my podcast is titled "Think About It Using Common Sense." Um, and I'm finding out that common sense is something that's no longer common anymore among so many of us. And I'm talking about disconnect because there is so much going on in the world today. And we're hearing so many different uh, definitions of the truth, or so many interpretations of the truth, uh, so many explanations having to be made centering the truth, which I feel the truth needs no explanation. Hypocrisy and lies needs explanations based on my common sense and my experiences in life. And I have never seen so many people based on my experiences uh, in a country that's full of different avenues and different means of getting educated to be so disconnected from the truth. And when you say, I'm saying, well, I'm talking about the truth. What is the truth? You know, the truth, based on my experiences, is something that's been broken down to its lowest common denominator with no wiggle room. You know, and in all actuality, when you think about common sense, I think common sense is an avenue of the truth. You look at nature, if you have problems and you want to get answers, you look to nature. Nature will give you answers. But the thing about it is, at this point, so many of us uh, have allowed, or not, I wouldn't even say allowed, because a lot of us are unaware of what's being done to our minds and our way of thinking. That sometimes some of us react or act in certain ways we ourselves don't even know why we are doing the things that we're doing. If you ask yourself, well, what is the truth? Well, what do you know? What have you experienced? Uh, you can be a very opinionated person. What are your opinions based on? Can you tell me how it feels to be in war? In a war where there's bullets and deaths all around you. Can you tell me how it feels to be there if you have never been in a war? You can tell me what you think it may feel like to be there. But you can't tell me what it really feels like to be there because you have never been there. And then also your motive, your motives for being there also can determine how you feel about being there. So people is so much that we have to think about when we become so opinionated and we have drawn conclusions about certain things. We have to, I think, we need to sit back and say, well, why do we feel this way? Why are we thinking this way? If you have had a bad experience about something, and then when you're talking about that something is based on the experience that you had of that. So there comes a time when we have to just really sometimes step outside of this picture and start asking questions. Just don't people just don't believe what someone tells you, especially especially in a world that we're living in today, where people seem to be more about themselves. They seem to be more materialistic. They seem to be living outside of themselves. And what I mean when I say living outside of yourself, there are two life environments. I guess this is the best way I can put it. There is a physical life environment. And there is a spiritual life environment. But they all generate from that one source. That one source is our mind. It's the mind and what we experience and what we are willing to separate ourselves. In other words, um, I'm not here to talk about. I don't talk about person's religion. I'm not. I'm not here to tell you how you believe or what you should believe in. I'm talking about me, my experiences in life. Do I believe in God? Do I believe? Yes. Do I believe in higher powers? Yes. Do I believe that we as humans are or have the capability of becoming God-like or representatives of the God that we believe? We are examples of that. Our bodies are temple of the Holy Spirit, yes, if we put the Holy Spirit inside of this temple. This temple can be a whole lot of things as we see today, based on what we believe. I came up with a saying years ago: your world is your level of consciousness. It is. Think about that for a second. Just don't let things go in one ear and come out the other. Think about it. Your world is your level of consciousness, which so many people have said the same thing, but may have expressed it in a different way. There's a book called Think and Grow Rich, or uh, you are what you think. Same thing. Your world is your level of consciousness. You are what you think. Same thing. So many different interpretations of something. I was going to say truth, but no, there's only one interpretation of the truth. But there's several different interpretations of a thing, of a sentence. Depends on what that person sees and how that person sees that sentence, how he interprets it. And this is the same thing about life. But one thing, when we start talking about seriousness and God, no matter what a person believes, I mean, I've studied, looked into several different religions, uh, but they all talk about love. They talk about life and helping one another. But whether we or an individual choose to do that, now that's a different story. So if you say you are this, you represent this religion, but yet you going out doing these things or you saying these things, then your religion is telling you something else, then you're not a representative of what you believe. It's just that simple. It's common sense. So your temple is not of the Holy Spirit, but it could be that maybe that's your Holy Spirit. And role models. This world that we live in is a world that we have created. People. We we talk about we talk about crime. We talk about all this crime in certain neighborhoods. There's a reason why we have crime in these things. And this crime is just doesn't it just didn't happen today. This is a manifestation of something that happened 50, 100 years ago. You may not see it, but it is. Look at the disparity of neighborhoods, the quality of education, the type of schools, what's being taught to these children, what's being put before these children, the easy accessibility of getting guns to these children, lack of education, lack of family. All these, it's not just one thing, but we have to, whether you want to or not, this is the results of it. Sure, your family may not be that way. Your children, but guess what? Your children didn't live like that. Your children didn't come up like that. Your children wasn't taught like that. I can give you a perfect example. Just today, uh, my daughter, my daughter needed a refrigerator. Okay, I'm not even gonna call the store's name, but she purchased a refrigerator. Paid a lot of money for this refrigerator, and the refrigerator was delivered dents all in the front door of the refrigerator. Now you tell me, and when she purchased the refrigerator, the salesperson said, make sure there's no dents in it. If you're paying a lot of money for a refrigerator, why should you have to worry about dents being in it? You understand? But this is what's happening. It doesn't happen to everybody. I'm sure there are certain people they would inspect. Refrigerator costs that amount of money. I think you would inspect the refrigerator before you go deliver it to somebody's house. So now they took it back. The person has to wait another 10 days without a refrigerator. And when the lady was talking, all she was doing was trying to cover the company that did it, said nothing about food being lost, inconvenience, anything like that. Nothing. But that's the world we're living in today on a certain level, on the ground level. But it's time for a change, and we bring all this stuff on ourselves, all of it. Then you want to complain. The woman wanted to complain when you got angry and uh asked to speak to who's in charge. Now all of a sudden, well, that person isn't around. So it's the world we live in today is just making people what they are today and who they are today. People are stressful. They're tired of being pushed around. They're tired of being taken advantage of. But not everybody. You got people out here that's compassionate, that's trying to help. Sure. But don't act like this is just the way people are. They come out and act like that. No, they're not. They're not. How can you compete on an educational level if you haven't been taught or educated on that level? It's just that simple. It's common sense. And at the end of the day, we're all in this world together. When these tornadoes hit, they don't pick and choose based on color. The only difference is the insurance that you have when you do get hit, if you have any insurance, as opposed to those that do have insurance that can afford quality insurance. It's different. I'm sure right now, I haven't been, but I'm sure there's people still suffering from Katrina, those poor neighborhoods. Puerto Rico, they had a big flood or storm, tornado or something went through there a few years back. But we can come up with billions and billions of dollars in a drop of a hat just for a plane, weapons to destroy. It's common sense. I mean, we need to do more. This is our planet here, people. This is our planet that we live in. We have nowhere else to live. But yet, the other day I heard on the news, China getting ready to dump all these millions of tons of gallons of whatever of atomic water into the ocean. Oh, people, don't worry about it. Give me a break, man. How you mean for every action there's a reaction? How you telling me or telling people don't worry about it and you dropping and you dumping atomic radioactive water in the ocean? Don't worry about it. It's safe. It's not safe. You're not going to tell me somebody. What about the fish in the ocean? What about that heat? That heat from that radioactive water. What causes storms and tornadoes and tsunamis and all that kind of stuff? You don't know what that stuff is going to cause. Just because some people say, okay, it's fine because they want to dump it. People, you better wake up. This is all we have. These temperatures is the hottest. These temperatures that we have experienced on this planet today are the hottest that has ever been on record. And don't forget, these poles are melting, and this is throwing everything off. Those polar bears, those animals that live in the cold, survive on the cold weathers, and the ice, they're hurting right now. They're starving, and the sea level is rising. Well, yeah, we're spending billions, I don't know how much money, going into outer space. If it take 100 years to create outer space for the living, still ain't but a few people going. Don't you people understand that? We need to focus on what's happening here. We had a electrical outage the other day. We don't nobody knows what it's from. We can do some thinking and hoping that it wasn't a grid overload or something. You know, I just wrote about something. I didn't finish it. Um, Sometimes take me a couple of days to write something. I write, I go off, and I come back, and I put it back on. But it was about disconnect. And we are disconnected. It seems as though we are disconnected from reality. We don't know. I mean, we're saving energy, electric cars, yes. But if everything is electric, it's getting hotter. That's affecting the environment. It's affecting the farmers. Everything is about to change. Everything. And we should not be out here fighting amongst one another, thinking somebody's better. We all need to live together. We need to find some peace, man. Because I don't care what country you're in, you're still part of this world. If this world go up in smoke, then everybody's going up in smoke. And it's time for people to start thinking and get connected. Get connected to this life. Get connected to yourself. Get connected to one another. And with all this crime and stuff going in the neighborhood, there, I don't think uh, there's no instant solution to this crime because it wasn't made overnight. This came from years and years of not being educated and redlining neighborhoods, not putting money into them, not having quality schools, breaking up the parents, influx of drugs. You know what I mean? A lot television has a lot to do with it too. People say what they want to say, but your environment plays a part on what you do, what you see, how you look at something, how you feel about things. That's why television is so important. If television did not affect people, then the cost of ads would not be so much. I've often said television should be free or at least have price because if it wasn't for televisions in the home, people would not know of your product. But yet, that's the way it is, and people get nothing back in return. They get nothing. All these companies making billions and billions and billions of dollars in profit from the people. People get nothing. They still get robbed. They still get overcharged. They still get sent out dent appliances. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't. These people are making money. They're making record profits. Make your profits, but you don't have to rob people, especially when they not don't even have any money. Teach people, teaching people how to spend money or teaching people the value of money is not taught in these neighborhood schools. Maybe the schools outside the city, suburban schools, not in the inner cities, not at all. I went to a couple of inner city schools to see if I could talk to the students. Uh, I left my information and I stood there and I watched what I saw. It just reaffirmed what I believed all the time. These schools and how they're being ran, they need to change. They really need a change. You cannot let students in these schools run around and be like they are, but they're only hurting themselves. They don't even know it. And the teacher should not allow them to do that. You have to have some type of discipline in these schools. You just can't walk in them doors looking any kind of way. You may not have to tell them about how to dress. That's one thing, but you coming to school to learn, and being presentable is a part of learning. That is why the suit and tie is so important. You know why? And I didn't have to read this in a book. It's just common sense. Because with that suit and tie on, they can't tell what's underneath of it. You understand? You could get out, you could be smoking crack or getting high or doing whatever drugs you do. Wash your face, put a suit and tie on, and go walk through that door in that office building. They don't know who you are. That's right. I learned a long time ago. I don't care who you are, what color you are, people respect knowledge. They respect intelligence. They do. And not only that, knowledge and intelligence is so profitable, people. Profitable. And you take that knowledge and put that inside your brain and turn that key, I'm telling you, it opens up worlds and doors that you have no idea. You had no idea what's there. And I'm talking about what's inside of you, the individual. But you can't do it dancing to tunes outside of yourself. You got to get educated. You have to know who you are. You have to study. You have to make sacrifices. They know, people know, but what you're doing is you are making the playing field easier for others when you're not doing anything. Why is it so hard to keep you down if you wasn't qualified to do something? Think about that. Now just think about that for a second. If you're not qualified to do anything, why do I have to spend time trying to keep you? It doesn't matter what kind of education, books and stuff I put in front of you. If you're not capable of learning, does it matter? No. But guess what? It does matter. You have to think, people. Where are you going? Where are you going? I told a kid one day, I said, if I promised you work for me 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, and if I can guarantee you at the end of that 8 years that you'll be making 150, 200, $300,000 a year, even more. So would you do it? You thought about that thing for a minute, right? Oh, yeah, I'd do it. I said, well, then go to college, study, and go to college. And when you come out and you apply yourself for that amount for that length of time, that 250,000, $300,000 a year be like peanuts. You're capable of. You're more than capable of. Because it's nothing. It's just a matter of learning some little stuff. Once you get the principles of how things work, automatically just fall into place. But you don't even put yourself on the starting line to even see if you can run. You don't even do that. So you know what's ahead of you. That's why I look at these kids out here in the street today, especially in the poor neighborhoods, or just even kids, some of the kids, even in decent neighborhoods. If you're not doing anything, you're not going to be anything. I look on these college campuses. I look at on the college campus of Drexel University, University of Pennsylvania, because I live in that area. And I'm telling you, I have to look. I mean, I have to really, really look for African Americans in that on that campus. And I mean, I have to look. Look for shouldn't be. Shouldn't be. You got to put some time in because the technology today and the jobs today, oh, they getting harder, man. They're getting harder and they're getting tougher to get. They're gonna require some top level education. And you're qualified. You're capable of doing it. You're not handicapped in any way. You may have been based on the education that you've been taught and the things that you have been deprived from. That ability is still there. And I'm gonna tell you something. Believe it or not, as quiet as it kept, when now is the perfect time. Now is the time for all you kids to really just take a good night's sleep and wake up that morning and leave all this bullshit, all this stuff you've been thinking, and start focusing on yourself and start focusing on life. Because what happens is when you get introduced to new knowledge and a new way of thinking and a clear head, that can be like a magnet. That can be like a magnet that when you get a hold of that, you just can't consume enough of that knowledge. And you'll become the top of your class in no time flat. All you gotta do is put that time in, because as you study, things become clearer. And once you get a hold of that formula, how things really work, piece of cake. When I found out, when I found out how what I could do, right? When I found out what I could do, because I didn't know. You know, being my age, I came up in a time in life where it's like, education, college was never even put in front of me. When I was coming up, the only people in my neighborhood went to college was the kids of the school teachers. Wasn't even brought to my told me that college. They didn't. But when my 12th year in school, I only had to go to school one hour a day. That was it. 'Cause I had everything I needed to graduate from school. Nobody told me I needed additional stuff to go to college. Nobody told me that. Nobody even mentioned college to me. If my life was dependent on it, I probably could even told you what it was at that time. Jobs and stuff. Never didn't even know it. But when I found out what I could do, and I never even thought, never even thought or was taught that I could be a business owner. I was only taught the only way I could make money was to work for someone. Tell you, it's true. But when I found out that you could work for yourself, and you don't have to sell no drugs, you make money. And I found out you could go out here and buy something at one price, add your cost in, what it took for you to get it, and sell it at another price. Then when I found out all you had to do was be nice and treat people fairly, be honest and open with people, and sell a good product. If the product was bad, let the people know that it was bad and let them make their choice whether or not they want to buy it or not. But always focus on selling the best product at the best possible price you can sell it at. I became the best at everything I did. And I did some of everything. Everything. That's right. And all that time after working all them years, making money, you know what I found out? Money is not what it's all about. It's about people. People make the world go round. But trying to treat people and treat everybody right there. I mean, there's snakes out there. There's people out there will take advantage of you. People out there will use you. you know. But that's why knowledge can be. You have to learn. You get tripped up a few times till you learn. But once you learn, you'll find out the outcome is worth you getting tripped up. Worth you getting tripped up. And the thing about it is you have to keep, not that you have to, excuse me, but I had to, when I realized that, when I quit my job, so to speak, I had a 9 to 5 job, and I found out I quit my job and decided to go out on my own uh, as a street vendor. That's how I started out. That was the most frightening time in my life when I made that decision. But what really almost made me jump out of a window, man, just end it all, was when I realized that I had no cushion. See, job is a cushion. I realized I didn't have that cushion, and that if I didn't get out here and work, use my mind and my ability to make it, I was going to be out there on that street, sleeping in the street. I may have been in jail for trying to rob somebody. I didn't know what I was going to do. That was the most frightening moment in my life. How was I going to survive? That's when I started reading and picking up books, and I found God. And when I say I found God, I found the strength. That strength, God was my source of strength, my source of faith that I had to feed on, to give me what I needed to go through life, to become strong. Because when you're out there, the only thing that you have to depend on, your only safety net, is what you believe. Because so you sow, so shall you reap. When you sow good deeds, when you sow good deeds, and you believing in God for that strength, and you feeding on that strength for protection, for that faith, it comes. It's manifest, man. It is made manifest through you. And I believe that. And you have to believe it. Just talking stuff don't mean that. It's a little something. But you have to believe it. You know, you can talk about running a race car on the track, but you got to get out there in that car, run that track, run the risk of having accidents or whatever it is, and believe it, and get out there and run it. And guess what? You'll get to the finish line. And today it's getting harder and harder and harder and harder to get to that finish line. You still need those same basic ingredients for everything, unless you're rich. And then if you don't have it when you're rich and you get that money, if you don't have something in you, you know what? You're going to still wind up on the bottom as long as you live. That's how it goes. And this is the reason why the world is like it is. It's a reason for it. And the reason for it is the people that's in it and how we're treating people, how we're treating ourselves. Like, for an example, right now, robotics and AI is really taking a front seat now. They get ready to jump off. You know why? Now, jumping off, they telling people that there's more jobs than we ever had before. And unemployment is all time low. They saying this. They can say anything, but me personally, I don't believe it, because all I'm hearing about right now is robotics, and robotics is to replace humans on the job site. Robotics, you don't have to pay no robot. Robot can work 30 hours a day. No lunch breaks, no nothing. AI, you put that computer, boom, you don't have to figure out, you don't need no secretaries, you don't need accountants and all this stuff. Put it through the paper, put it through AI. So now you're talking about putting people out of work. For what reason? You're already a multi-billionaire, not trillionaire. The object is to keep the ball rolling, not letting the air out of the ball. And this is what they're doing. They're letting the air out of the ball and then complaining when people going off the rails, as if you don't know. All these, look, all these sicknesses and all these chemicals that's being put into the human body, they're coming to fruition, people. I don't care. For every action, there's a reaction. I don't care. No matter what it is, you're going to get a reaction from it. Our body wasn't created with all this mess in it. All this mess and sicknesses and all this stuff that we're having is due to what we are putting into our bodies and into our minds. And people, you have got to wake up and start believing that and start living it. I'm not here talking because I'm asking you for something. I'm not here sitting here talking because I need so many subscribers for this and for that. No. I'm here talking because I feel like my life, the way I have lived my life, I have something to share to those who want to listen. If you do, fine. If you don't, that's fine. All what it happens inside of me. You understand? This is happening inside of me, and that's I'm just trying to share what I've learned. Maybe some of the stuff you say, oh, ain't nothing, but it ain't nothing. I'm telling you, it worked for me. I'm 75 years old. I've never been sick a day in my life. Have I had some pain? Sure. I mean, right now, as far as I know, I could be ridden with cancer right now, as far as I know. But guess what? I feel good. Doesn't matter. And my mental state, my spiritual state, I'm getting up to par. I focus on that every day. You know what I'm saying? I don't certain things I don't believe in. You see, but regardless, regardless, these people ain't building all these hospitals and stuff for nothing. All these diseases they have always been here. Your immune system is malfunctioning, people. Your body and your mind is not strong. You start talking about more chemicals and stuff you put in your body, but guess what? The reaction is it's going to come. If it don't come through you, it's going to come through your offsprings, your children. That's what's meant when it says your children should pay for what your mothers and your fathers did. And that is so true. And what they do not do. You don't teach your child, you don't educate your child, then guess what? The chances of your child winding up dead or in jail or out down the street somewhere is likely. So whose fault is that? You're gonna look and blame the child. Oh, my child shouldn't have been out there. Where were you? Where have you been? We have to be role models, which are far and few. Even the clergy still out here talking that talk and lining their pockets with gold. That's what they're doing. I know this one clergy. I think they had a blizzard or something. He wouldn't even open the doors to the church to let the people in. That's something. Clergy now. But at some point, people have to be held responsible for their own selves, for their own doings. They got to be responsible for their own lives to a point. And you have to work together. That's another thing that bugs me. It bugs me so much when I see so much wealth. I see so much wealth in the black community. I see other nationalities people have wealth too, but and that they blowing it, but guess what? They have something. They have jobs. They focus on their community. That creates money. And America is about money, people. It's about America is about money. What can you contribute? A person once said to me, he said, well, if you want to know uh how much you are worth, he said, stick your hand in your pocket and see how much money you got. Or ask yourself how much money. That's it. That's it. You have got to manage that money. You cannot be spending, 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 and hope to have anything. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. I know one time I was in, I'll never forget, I was in New York and waiting at the train station. And a homeless person walked up to me and asked me for money. And just the fact that, you look at a homeless person, just the situation they're in, regardless, they need something. If you can help, regardless of what they're on, what they're doing, they need something. So I reached my hand in my pocket and just pulled out a handful of change, and I gave it to him. And he stood there for a few minutes, picking out the pennies, and he threw the pennies on the ground and walked off. I was speechless. I wasn't going to talk to him anyway, but mentally, you know. And that tells a lot. Pennies make dollars. Enough people get together, you can make something happen. You don't throw something of value away. Those pennies was of value, but yet that's the reason he was homeless on the street. Maybe because he didn't value something. That's for sure. So it's just a lot. It's just too much. It's too much to talk about in like an hour or so. But people have got to start realizing life is important. People people are living like when you die, like this is all it is. I'm gonna do this right here and do it to the max, and no matter what, this is it. But it's not it. It's two sides to this coin. If there was no justice, there was no justice, it would be instilled in our DNA. I mean, I have enough common sense to look at things even from 75 years ago up until today and look at things, analyze things, see how they are. They're good people, they're bad people, reasons why this and that. Uh, but the first people need to do really is just accept, accept, accept what happened, how it happened. You got to move forward to correct that. And the people that happened to, you just can't carry that burden on your back all through the years. This things happened to a whole lot of people back in the day. Look at them now. They're thriving. They're thriving. Too many of us. We've been on the bottom for too long. We're descendants from the wealthiest continent in the world. We don't have a hand in nothing that's going on over there. Nothing. We don't have a hand in anything going on over here. It's election time. Or somebody come over here and want to start a business. Hey, we're in the black community. They sell, they buy. Can't do that. Expect to live. You've got to pull yourself in. You have to value life. You have to value your family. You have to value your future. You have to value your seniors. We have to do it. No one's going to do it for us. And that's the problem. One of the problems. Nobody's going to come in and take care of you like they take care of themselves. Doesn't happen. And it's never going to happen. It's going to happen less and less now as things begin to get tighter. I go into food markets now, drugstores. They're not like they were before COVID. They're not getting that way. And the fruit and vegetables are horrible. The only place they're good at is in the suburbs. City, bought a bag of oranges, grapefruits, and took them home. I had to throw half of them out. Yeah, shouldn't be like that. Somebody's getting me good fruit. But until we realize that we need to work together, we need to hold people accountable. All the bullshit that these politicians is ramming down our throats is making me sick to my stomach. I can't believe they think we are that stupid to be saying the stuff that they're saying to us. And they wouldn't say it if they didn't think we were stupid to believe it. And you know, the bad part about it is so many of us believe that crap. I just, that boggles my mind more than anything in the world. You know, you know, politicians been running this world for I don't know what. They're the ones running everything. And they're all wealthy. There's nothing you can do about it. Be wealthy, but at least at the time for election time to come around, stop talking what you going to do. Let's tell them what we want them to do for us. Tell them this is what we want. If you can't do it, then guess what? We will vote you out. They get in office like they do whatever they want to do, say what they want to say, lies here, lies there, hypocrisy over here, as if, hey, we do what they want to do. People ain't doing that. They don't care. And the people that they're supposed to do something for, they tell people lies. For example, I heard on the news though, they're telling how bad these Republicans telling how bad Joe Biden, President Biden is, but yet they're getting billions of dollars from the program, from the infrastructure program that Joe Biden put in place that the Republicans didn't want a part of. But, you know, the hypocrites. If you don't like the man, you don't take anything that the man is dishing out. If you take an oath, then uphold that oath. If you can't uphold the oath that you took when you were sworn in, then you got no business being in office because you're a hypocrite. You're lying. You're going against what you said you was going to do. And yet people still support him. So I'm at a point now where I don't even talk about him anymore because it's the people. It's the people. And trust me, it's going to come back to bite everybody. Because just like what happened, they had that winter freeze down in Texas. Tom Cruise, his family still with it was on the island somewhere. The only reason he came back because people found out about it and talked about it. But yet, his people in Texas, then freeze themselves to death. This happens all over. Supreme Court, what I thought was the Supreme Court. I had faith in the Supreme Court. That word supreme means something. It does. It's supposed to anyway. A Supreme Court justice should not be questioned. If he's doing his job, living and upholding the laws, the oath that he or she took, that's what is meant by Supreme Court. When you want some truth and honesty, then take it to the Supreme Court. That's where you'll get it. Not today. I'm telling you, I was floored. I was floored when I heard what those justices and the Supreme Court were doing or had done. I just lost it behind that. I said, it's done. It's done there. Where do we go? If you have a question, you have a problem, they are mistreated in the law, where do you go? Where do you go? Nowhere. We have to, the integrity in the Supreme Court and our justice system must be restored. And it's not going to be restored until you get the people that's in there. They have to be voted out. Otherwise, forget about it. Forget about it. You got some of these politicians. Oh my goodness! In there waving AR-15s, politicians now, and here we have school kids been murdered by these type of weapons, and the people are not all up in arms. It should be a no-brainer. You do that, guess what? You gone. You do it at home. We ain't gonna pay you. Get taxpayers' money to do that. But see, the people in their state, see what they do is they take care of the people in their state. They might give them tax breaks or something, or whatever they give them, if they tell us, and they vote them in office. But see, the people in their state, they're no better than them because they know what the hell's going on. They're allowing that. They're taking that money on the backs of our kids getting killed in these schools, these mass shootings and stuff. But yet, they wind up in church every Sunday. But anyway, I can't talk enough. I get to talking about this stuff. I can talk about it all day and all night, but I'm just talking about it because people, we here in America, in this country, we are more or less the guidance for the rest of the world. But no more. No more. We used to stand for something, even though it was under the door. We shouldn't have been, but still. But people, this is terrible. This is terrible. With all these cameras and stuff now, you can't hide stuff anymore. All these killings, shootings. A life mean, I have to say this. And I understand today with all the crime and killings, and guns, the situation. But again, I said we made the situation. These police officers trigger happy, a lot of them, and some of them just race haters. Not all of them, because I know a lot of them good police officers. Trust me, not saying it, but you can't trigger happy with all these guns and killings and stuff. You're gonna shoot first and ask questions later. Their life is on the line. They have families and stuff. So you got to look at it, use some common sense on this thing, and look at it more than one way. But a life should mean something. But to shoot someone unarmed, running away from you, there has to be something. There has to be some better guidelines to that. I'm not out there. I've never been a police officer. I can't tell you how it feels. What's that all about? Can't live without them. But again, we have over 400 million guns, and I think maybe 360 million people. And on television, it's nothing but violence, violence, violence. I'm not saying TV is all of it, but it's a big part of it. Big part of it. Family, big part of it. Parents, you got to take responsibility. Take responsibility for everything. Cars, see pavement in front of your house. You got to have insurance for this, insurance for that. But you got to take care of your children, people. They're your children. responsible for them. And so anyway, thank you all for listening to me. I really, really appreciate it. Hope I've enlightened you a little bit. Have a good night.